Imagine you are sitting in a room with a friend. You are laughing, talking, maybe sharing a meal. Suddenly, the air in the room changes. The person across from you freezes. Their eyes stop looking at you and lock onto something behind you, something in the empty air that you cannot see. The conversation dies instantly. The room goes dead silent. You watch as their face transforms, shifting from joy to a terrifying, intense focus. And then they whisper 3 words to the empty space. Go in peace. For the friars living in the remote monastery of San Giovanni Rotondo, this wasn't a ghost story. It was a Tuesday. It was life with Francesco Forgione, the man the world would come to know as Padre Pio. The stories say that hours, sometimes days later, a telegram would arrive, and it would confirm the impossible. At that exact second, miles away, someone had died. But here is where the story gets unnerving. The legends don't just say Padre Pio knew when people died. They claim he saw how they died. Not the biology of the heart stopping, but the physics of the soul ripping away from the body. He saw the invisible war that erupts in a hospital room the moment the monitor flatlines. We are talking about one of the most documented, yet biologically baffling figures of the 20th century. This is a man who, for 50 years, walked around with open, bleeding wounds in his hands and feet. The stigmata. Medical doctors examined him. Skeptics analyzed him. The wounds never infected, never healed, and never stopped bleeding, defying every law of human physiology until they vanished without a scar 3 days before his own death. But the wounds were just the visible tip of the iceberg. The real mystery was what was happening inside his head. There is a specific story, buried deep in the devotional archives, that acts as a key to unlocking this mystery. It's a narrative that isn't found in the dry history books, but in the whispered oral traditions of the Capuchin order. It involves a young friar, new to the monastery, struggling with insomnia. One night, he is walking down the corridor. It's late. The stone walls are cold. He approaches cell number 5, Padre Pio's room. The door is cracked open just an inch. The young friar peeks in, expecting to see the old priest asleep. Instead, he sees Padre Pio standing by the window. But he isn't looking at the Italian countryside. He is staring upward, weeping. Tears are rolling down his beard. And then, the young friar hears it. Not the wind, not the breathing of a sleeping man. He hears a sound that shouldn't exist in a stone room in Italy. He describes it as a choir. A faint, harmonious, terrifyingly beautiful music vibrating in the air itself. Terrified, the young friar freezes. He watches Padre Pio lift his wounded hand and trace the sign of the cross in the empty air. A slow, deliberate gesture of release. Suddenly, the tension breaks. The room goes still. Padre Pio turns, sees the young man trembling in the doorway, and invites him in. He doesn't offer a generic platitude. He drops a bombshell. He tells the boy that he has just watched a human soul fight its way out of a body. Padre Pio explained that death is not a fade to black. It is a release. Think of it like a bird smashing out of a cage. But the moment that cage opens, the sky isn't empty. It is a battlefield. He described seeing a protective cordon of angels, beings of absolute light, encircling the newborn soul. But they weren't the only ones there. From the shadows of the room, other entities emerged. Dark, heavy, suffocating shapes. These were the accusers. This is the part that keeps you up at night. Padre Pio claimed that in those final seconds, these dark entities don't attack with claws. They attack with memory. They scream every failure, every secret sin, every moment of selfishness the soul has ever committed. They try to weigh the soul down with its own history, to make it despair, to make it believe it is worthless. It is a psychological assault of infinite proportion. And the defense? The angels didn't fight back with swords. They fought back with a song. They sang the mercy of God. They used truth to drown out the lies. As the music grew louder, the dark shapes recoiled, burned by the frequency of that light. But what happens next? What happens when the soul actually crosses the threshold? Padre Pio's descriptions align with a terrifying theological concept called the particular judgment. But forget the image of a courtroom with a judge and a gavel. That is too human. Padre Pio described something far more visceral. Imagine living your entire life in a pitch-black cave. You know the room only by touch. You think you know where the furniture is. Then, suddenly, someone turns on a stadium floodlight. Instant, blinding, high-definition reality. That is the moment of death. The soul sees itself exactly as it is. No filters, no excuses. No, I didn't mean to. You see the architecture of your own life. You see who you became. For Padre Pio, this wasn't God pointing a finger. It was the soul seeing the truth. If you spent a lifetime pushing love away, that light feels like fire. If you spent a lifetime seeking it, that light feels like home. This creates a terrifying question. Is it ever too late? There is a legendary encounter that answers this, and it is perhaps the most hopeful thing you will ever hear. A woman came to Padre Pio, devastated. Her husband had committed suicide, jumping from a bridge. In the strict theology of the time, this was a one-way ticket to damnation. She was inconsolable. She asked where his soul was. Padre Pio didn't give her a generic answer. He closed his eyes, entered that strange, deep silence, and then looked at her. He said, "He is saved." The woman was confused. How? He jumped. Padre Pio replied with a sentence that defies our understanding of time. Between the bridge and the river, he repented. Think about the physics of that. That takes 2, maybe 3 seconds. But Padre Pio was suggesting that in spiritual time, a second is an eternity. In that free fall, facing the end, the man's soul cried out for mercy, and mercy answered before he hit the water. It suggests that the game isn't over until the absolute final microsecond. But Padre Pio's vision didn't stop at the deathbed. He claimed the veil between our world and the next was incredibly thin. There is the chilling story of Pietro di Mauro. One evening, Padre Pio is praying alone. He looks up and sees an old man sitting next to him near the fireplace. Padre Pio knows every monk in the convent. He does not know this man. He asks, "Who are you?" The figure replies, "I am Pietro di Mauro. I died in a fire in this building back when it was a poorhouse in 1908. I am still in purgatory. I need a mass to be freed." He wasn't a hallucination. He was a visitor. The next day, the superior of the monastery checked the obscure municipal records. They found it. A man named Pietro di Mauro had burned to death on that exact date, in that exact room, decades prior. For Padre Pio, purgatory wasn't a punishment chamber. It was a place of burning nostalgia. Imagine being away from the love of your life for 20 years and knowing they are just behind a locked door. The pain you feel isn't torture, it's desire. It's love so intense it hurts. That, he said, is the fire of purification. And he believed that we, the living, hold the keys to those doors through our prayers. So what do we do with this? You don't have to be a Catholic or even religious to feel the weight of these stories. They point to a universal human intuition, that we are more than biology, that our consciousness doesn't just switch off like a broken computer. Padre Pio's life offers a radical proposition, that everything matters. Every choice is building the self that will one day stand in that blinding light. That there is an unseen battle raging for your attention, for your hope, and for your despair. But ultimately, his message was one of aggressive hope. That even in the free fall, even in the darkest room, the light is stronger than the shadows. That the final word isn't death. The final word is go in peace.